Xiao Baolong says in National Security Forum that Hong Kong still faces hostile external forces. Chief Executive John Lee pledges to safeguard national security and seize new development opportunities. And Chinese Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang meets with Russian President Vladimir Putin in St. Petersburg. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The government today held a forum marking the 5th anniversary of the implementation of the Hong Kong National Security Law. In a keynote speech by Xiao Baolong, the director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, he said the city still faces external hostile threats and must continue to strengthen national security. Samantha Lee reports.
The forum was held at the Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai.
有请夏主任。
Xiao Baolong, the senior Beijing official overseeing Hong Kong affairs, delivered a keynote speech.
修例风波期间，港独
He said that since the implementation of the Hong Kong National Security Law, the city has bid farewell to unrest, hailing the law as a guardian of the city and the country. He recalled the period of social unrest when calls for Hong Kong independence and violent forces were rampant. He said Hong Kong was damaged beyond recognition and national security was endangered. However, after the implementation of the Hong Kong National Security Law, he said Hong Kong swiftly restored law and order. Xiao pointed out that external hostile forces have not stopped their attacks on Hong Kong, and that residents should not assume everything is fine. He proposed 5 musts, such as ensuring maintenance of national security is carried out throughout the entire process of implementing one country, two systems. Xiao Baolong stressed that Hong Kong's governance should be in the hands of patriots, while all sectors must support and cooperate with the authorities. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Delivering his keynote speech at the forum, Chief Executive John Lee said he will continue to fully implement his constitutional responsibility of safeguarding national security while seizing new development opportunities.
有請行政長官。
Speaking at the forum marking the 5th anniversary of the implementation of the Hong Kong National Security Law, Chief Executive John Lee said the implementation of the law has brought positive significance to the restoration of stability in the city while fulfilling the one country, two systems principle. He said Hong Kong will continue to fully implement the constitutional responsibility of safeguarding national security.
我们要坚定维护国家主权、安全。
Lee said although the international situation is complex and changing, with escalating geopolitical risks, with the institutional guarantee of one country, two systems, the protection of the national security law, and the integration of the safeguarding national security ordinance, Hong Kong's development and reform will continue to advance steadily and exert greater strength.
我们要勇于改革。
The city leader added Hong Kong must have the courage to reform, break the old rules that are out of place, innovate, and create. He said the city will accelerate the development of the northern metropolis and the innovation park at Shenzhen-Hong Kong Loop, with industrial development as the main axis to promote the overall development of Hong Kong. Secretary for Justice Paul Lam spoke at the forum in the afternoon.
對於面對嘅國家安全風險，
Lam said the focus of future national security work is to grasp the relationship between security and development, while stressing the need to protect basic human rights. Meanwhile, Zhou Ji, director of Beijing's liaison office in Hong Kong, noted in his speech that the Hong Kong National Security Law only targets a very small number of lawbreakers and protects the human rights and freedoms of Hong Kong residents and the vital interests of investors from all over the world. Dong Jingwei, director of the Office for Safeguarding National Security of the Central People's Government in Hong Kong, said the office will work with the Hong Kong government to promote national security governance in accordance with the law. On the 4th day of Xiao Baolong's visit to Hong Kong, the director of the Hong Kong Macau Affairs Office visited the National Security Exhibition Gallery at the Hong Kong Museum of History. He also paid a visit to the National Security Office. Xiao went to the Police Officers Club in Causeway Bay at 8 this morning. Secretary for Justice Paul Lam was also there. Xiao then headed to the National Security Forum after an hour's stay. At noon, he went to the Hong Kong Museum of History, where he attended the National Security Exhibition Gallery with a group of students. Iran says 430 people have been killed since Israel began attacking its nuclear and military sites. The number of dead in Israel from retaliatory Iranian missiles is at least 24. Israel vows to continue the war for as long as it takes. David Garrett reports.
Nuclear plant at Isfahan as one of Iran's biggest. In response, Iran fired a barrage of missiles at Jerusalem. Flashes of light illuminating the dark night sky as interceptions blow rockets out of the air. Many explosions over Jerusalem in the early hours as Israel and Iran continue tit-for-tat strikes. Israel's multi-tiered defence system able to repel most projectiles. Iranian drone strikes continued during the day. One penetrated Israeli defences, destroying a building. Firefighters extinguished a blaze and then checked for dead or injured people. No casualties were reported. Meanwhile, diplomacy continues, but at the UN, little sign of progress. Russia says Israel showed disregard for diplomacy by striking ahead of planned talks between the US and Iran and undermined its Western ally.
While the United States was not involved in Israel's strikes, let there be no doubt that the United States continues to stand with Israel and supports its actions against Iran's nuclear ambitions. Iran's leaders could have avoided this conflict had they agreed to a deal that would have prevented them from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon.
Differences between the warring factions all too apparent.
Iran's nuclear program is peaceful, and under the world's most extensive IAEA inspections, Iran has long advocated for a nuclear weapon-free zone in the Middle East. Israel is the only possessor of undeclared nuclear weapon in the region.
David Garrett, TVB News.
At the plenary session of the 28th St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, Chinese Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ding said China-Russia relations are now at their best in history, being stable, rock solid, and unbreakable. Ding Xuexiang noted 4 suggestions in his speech. They include the upholding of a multilateral world economy, the opposition to a new Cold War in any form or ideological confrontation, the safeguarding of global peace through dialogue and active promotion of equal rights and opportunities for all nations. The Chinese vice premier also met with Putin for bilateral talks. He said China is willing to work with Russia to improve the cooperation mechanisms to jointly lift bilateral educational and technological collaboration to a new level. And still ahead, Financial Secretary Paul Chan says Hong Kong's cross-boundary asset management business will surpass Switzerland. Controversy in England over a bill on assisted dying. It's World Yoga Day as millions of people across the globe practice this sport. Welcome back. At the Wealth Expo 2025, Financial Secretary Paul Chan said he is confident that Hong Kong would surpass Switzerland and becomes the world's #1 cross-border asset management center within 3 years. Also speaking at the event, Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Rosanna Law noted, with Kai Tak Sports Park hosting more sports events, it frees up availability at the Hong Kong Coliseum, allowing the venue to host extra concerts.
3、2、1。
The Wealth Management Expo 2025 was held in a hotel in Central on Saturday afternoon. Officiating at the ceremony, Financial Secretary Paul Chan said in the first 5 months of 2025, the city's stock market recorded an average daily turnover of over $240 billion, marking a 120% surge year-on-year. Initial public offerings in the city raised nearly $90 billion, placing Hong Kong at the top of the global IPO rankings. Local bank deposits rose to $18 trillion, which Chan said reflected an influx of funds into the city. The finance chief said Hong Kong continues to maintain its status as a free port and a safe haven for international funds. Paul Chan noted the number of family offices in Hong Kong is expected to increase from 2,700 to 3,000 soon. Chan said it is expected that in the next 2 years, at most 3 years, Hong Kong will surpass Switzerland and become the world's #1 cross-border asset management center.
香港光靠金融的话。
At the forum, economist Tao Dong said it is difficult for Hong Kong to sustain its economic prosperity if it relies on finance alone. He said Hong Kong should be integrated with the Greater Bay Area to create a new growth engine while leveraging Shenzhen tech companies, which offer ample opportunities for IPO listings. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Rosanna Law spoke on Hong Kong's developments in culture and sports. She said more venues will be reserved for long-term performances of Cantonese opera and other cultural shows, including the East Kowloon Cultural Center, which will complete construction by the end of the year. She noted that with Kai Tak Sports Park hosting more sports events, it frees up availability at the Hong Kong Coliseum in Hong Kong, allowing the venue to host more concerts and entertainment events. The police recently arrested 118 local people aged between 18 and 74 in connection with online shopping frauds. Total losses from the 192 cases exceeded $5 million. Samantha Lee reports.
Despite efforts to educate the public on how to avoid falling prey to scammers, fraud cases are still on the rise. A recent operation by the police busted 192 online shopping scam cases involving 300 victims. In the largest single case, the scammers posed as a buyer and asked for the seller's bank account information. The seller lost $1 million after filling in personal data in the phishing link. 3,076 cases related to online shopping scams were recorded during the first quarter of this year, marking a 30% hike year-on-year. Concert tickets, digital products, and food were the most common products involved in the deceptions. The force said the public can download its mobile app called Scammeter Plus. It is a search engine platform where users can identify scams and online pitfalls.
They could assess the risk before making any online transaction. I highly recommend them to enter the bank account numbers, the phone numbers, or any other information about the sellers or buyers that they are going to conduct the transactions before making the transactions.
Police urged the public to avoid impulsive purchases that created opportunities for scammers and to buy concert tickets from official websites. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
As part of the celebrations marking the 28th handover anniversary next month, the People's Liberation Army, or the PLA Hong Kong Garrison, opened 3 of its barracks to the public over the weekend, showcasing an array of military hardware and live drills. At the open day in the Stone Cutters Island barracks, rifle-toting PLA troops streaked across the training field, leapt over flaming barricades, and launched smoke grenades for cover in a high-stakes hostage rescue simulation to display agility and tactical precision. The 2-day event allowed ticketed visitors to explore up-close displays of weaponry, including a zone for children to handle replica rifles. Also docked at the base was the Jinmen frigate. UK lawmakers on Friday voted to back a bill allowing terminally ill adults in England and Wales to choose to end their lives, or so-called assisted dying, taking it one step nearer to becoming law. Nasri Karim with more.
It was a matter of life and death outside UK's Parliament. These protesters support the right to choose to die with dignity, while these people say they don't want their National Health Service turned into a state-run National Suicide Service. In the end, tears were shed on both sides. Tears of joy for the assisted dying supporters, despair for the assisted living campaigners.
The ayes to the right, 314. The noes to the left, 291.
Members of Parliament's lower chamber, the House of Commons, voted to back the terminally ill adults' end-of-life bill following an impassioned debate. The majority of 23 was less than the 55 when they last voted on the issue in November. The bill would allow terminally ill adults over the age of 18 in England and Wales who are deemed to have less than 6 months to live to apply for an assisted death. Proponents of the bill argued that those with a terminal diagnosis must be given a choice at the end of their lives to relieve their suffering. However, opponents warned that vulnerable people such as disabled and elderly are at risk of being forced into ending their lives. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
Thousands of people across India and some parts of the world stretched in public parks and on sandy beaches today to mark the 11th International Day of Yoga. The mass sessions of yoga were held in various Indian states where crowds performed poses, meditated, and practiced breathing exercises. Yoga, an ancient physical, mental, and spiritual discipline first practiced by Hindu sages, is now one of India's most successful cultural exports after Bollywood. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself performed yoga alongside a crowd in the southern Visakhapatnam city. Similar sessions were also held in Malaysia. Colorful yoga mats line the grounds at the limestone cave temple in Malaysia, as more than 1,000 yoga enthusiasts participated in a bend and stretch session. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.